This is why I love anthuriums. Their new leaves are so dramatic. All right, this is one growing eye, and then there's another one here. There's probably another one on the other side. Cute little baby root coming out. Love it. Welcome to a 3-month update. This is the Anthurium pedatoradiatum. Hi guys, my name is Sean. I'm a houseplant enthusiast from Jakarta, Indonesia. You're looking at my Anthurium collection, and honestly, they're not doing so well. I'm going to share with you in this video how to care for them properly and also what went wrong with them. It's very important to learn how to do things right, as well as the mistakes that people have made so you don't make the same mistakes. Now, before you judge me by my poor Anthurium care here, keep in mind, I have quite a lot of plants at my house. I have over 1,000 plants, and maybe about, I don't know, 30 of them are anthuriums. Anthuriums are actually relatively fast growing here. And you'll see in today's video, the recurring theme is that my anthuriums have outgrown their pots very, very quickly. They needed to be repotted months ago, but of course I've been busy traveling and editing these videos for you guys, so I haven't really had the time to care for them. And I'm the first to admit that I have way more plants than I can handle here. So what are anthuriums? Anthuriums are basically aroids that come from South America, usually, but not always, from the cloud forest. So they come from a higher elevation with high humidity, very good airflow, and they get actually very cool air. Just so you know, where I live in Jakarta, the temperature here is very hot. We're in a tropical hot climate, which is not where these anthuriums come from or what they're used to. So sometimes we see anthuriums suffer here in this kind of climate. And the sweet spot for temperatures for anthuriums in general are about 24 degrees Celsius. So that's like an air-conditioned room in my climate. Or if you live in like a more mild, semi-tropical climate, these anthuriums would really love it there. And of course, if you live in a winter climate, you do want to give them heater during the winter times and maybe a bit of a cooling during the summer times. Now, it is well known that anthuriums are humidity loving. And honestly, in my experience, a lot of anthuriums have done well in lower humidity. And when I say low humidity for my climate, it's about 60 to 50%. And of course, some of you guys live in like ridiculously low humidity, like 10%, 20% over the winter period. So this is when you definitely want to supplement them with a humidifier. Now, in terms of light, anthuriums actually need less light than your monsteras and philodendrons. Of course, this doesn't mean that you want to chuck them in a low light corner or in a dark bathroom. They still require pretty good, I would say medium to bright indirect light, although some anthuriums are known to thrive in lower light and in fact can give you nicer, darker leaves in those situations. I've also heard that for certain anthuriums that we grow for the dark leaves, if you give them a cooler temperature, they will promote darker leaves as well. And now with anthuriums, you do want to give them a very chunky potting media, which you will see plenty of later. And this is because they're semi-epiphytic in nature and they really have those gripping roots that want to climb onto things. So if you give them like a very dense potting media and you overwater them, they'll turn to mush. They will rot for you very, very, very quickly. So for me, the key for them is you really want to give them something chunky, something airy, something that dries really fast. And the next question you guys might have is, how often do I water my anthurium? This is a difficult question to answer. It depends on the species, your growing conditions, how much you water, how you water your plants, the growing media it's in, the size of the pots, and all that stuff. But I must safely say that because I'm an overwaterer, I tend to put them in a tighter pot, which is what's causing a lot of their demise, as you can see here. Now, anthuriums are also quite prone to spider mites, especially the velvety leafed ones, although I've seen some scale as well as mealybugs on them. They're not extremely pest-prone plants, but you do got to keep an eye out for them. And one thing about anthuriums, as most of you will realize, I don't have some good examples. Let me pull one from here. And if you look at it here, this is a very highly diseased leaf. Anthuriums are also very prone to bacteria and fungal infections. And the way they would know is that the part of the leaf that would crisp will not be in the tip. Typically, if you see some problems at the tip of the leaves, that's watering issue. You have either underwatered it or overwatered it. In this case, if you can see this one, it's actually got a bit of yellow around right where the dried parts is. This is overwatering. This is the plant trying to get rid of excess water quickly. However, if you find that your anthurium has like a crisping at the edge without that bit of yellow, usually that means it's underwatering. Of course, the symptoms may vary depending on our environments, but for me in my environment, this is the telltale sign. So once you ruled out that it is a watering issue, if you see a lot of these weird dots on the leaves, like yellow dots or like crisping on the edge, especially like those letter C crisp on the side of the leaves, that's actually bacterial and fungal infections. So you do want to give them fungicide spray now and then. And one of the best one I found is actually just neem oil in soapy water, because not only does it have strong antimicrobial properties, it also eliminates a lot of the pests that could be present on the leaves. So to sum it up, anthuriums, medium to bright indirect light, water when they're bone dry, give them very chunky, airy potting media, especially if you're an overwaterer. Be on top of your pest control and do treat them for fungus and bacteria preventatively if you can, but if you see them, you definitely should spray them down, because a lot of these infected leaves, they can spread to other leaves, especially if you touch the leaf and you touch another plant, or if they're just in contact with another plant. This is another excellent example right here of like one that is a little bit infected. And one more thing is that they're actually quite fast growing, at least for me. They get root bound really fast. They grow so much root. They have very root heavy plant. So you do want to repot them often where possible. And if you ask me, because I have way too many anthuriums here, and look at them, they all form this like weird like long knobs here. It is better to just divide them sometimes to start them over, rather than having this weird shaped plant that we have here. Of course, in the later part of the video, we will propagate some plants here. And also one more thing that you have to keep in mind, there are many types of anthuriums. The ones that we grow for the flowers, there are this bird nest type anthuriums, there's the heart-shaped leaf anthuriums. They all have slightly different care, but the general care tips that I shared with you today applies to nearly all of them. All right, so I guess I've shared enough about the general care tips. Feel free to click away from this video, because I think the information I gave you is pretty much enough for you to take care of your anthurium collection. But if you want to watch on, I'm going to be spending, I don't know, maybe hours to take care of all these anthuriums you see in front of you. And then we'll troubleshoot deeper into some of the problems that are run into, and you'll see some of the issues with the roots and the leaves that I mentioned earlier on. So you see here, there are some very, very thick leaves. This is, I can't remember which one this is. This is a gift from someone, a Pterodactyl, I think. And this, I don't remember what it is. As you can see, these are very, very thick leaves. And there are a few ways to treat them. The easiest way is to get dithane or anthracol brand, not sponsored. So these are fungicides. What I do is I have like a little spray bottle like this size, or you could use any spray bottle that you can. And I would pour normally just like a dash of it in here. I've never measured. It's up to you. You can measure if you want, but I'm not that kind of plant parent. So I would measure it, and then I would close it up, and then I would shake it and I spray it on the leaves. And then that's when if you see my plant tours, you'll see some of the leaves have like these white water spots on them. This is all because of the fungicide that I use on them. And I tend to do this with all my plant collection every 2 to 3 months or so, just to keep everything healthy. And another way, this is all a product that's specifically sold in Indonesia. I don't know if this is available in your area. Ask a plant shop near you if there's something that will work for you. So basically, this is like a kind of medication that kind of prevents disease, but just these tiny amounts. And this works for orchids and other plants as well. And then you give it a good shake, and the water turns like a little bit dark. That's okay. Yeah, my sprayer is broken, but you get the point, right? This is how you do it. And then the last thing that you could do is, instead of using regular water, you can use water with a little bit of dish liquid soap, like 5 drops of it, and then some neem oil, and then give it a good shake so the neem oil and the water would be nicely mixed together, and then you can spray on the leaves. Now, the thing with the neem oil is that it is better, in my opinion. This one is all natural, so it's good on your skin. Neem oil is fantastic on the skin and the hair. And then it also helps prevent pests. So if there's any pests on the leaves, the neem oil will take care of it as well. So for me, the neem oil method is the best, but they do smell like an onion just farted. So it's a terrible smell. So this is how I take care of stick leaves. All right, guys, so we moved some on the floor because we need working space, but let's start with something cheerful, this Anthurium gracile. There are a lot of anthuriums that have these long pendulent leaves, but this one has pretty short leaves. But this one is like beautiful because of the roots. And as you can see here, the roots are actually thick and they don't want to be sitting in water. So all anthuriums do not want to sit in water. And some anthuriums actually put out aerial roots more profusely than others, and this is one such case. And this particular plant actually does self-pollinate itself. I did not pollinate it, and it's given me fruits, and I've actually sown some of the seeds from these fruits and they've given me babies. So that's very cute. And today we will quickly repot this. As you can see, this is like super satisfying to watch. So I found a pot size that's just a little bit bigger. I'm gonna put that in here. Carefully. We're going to be using a lot of this potting media here. I'm going to show you on the table. It's basically with charcoal bits. This is bark made for reptile and reptile growing. And I also like to use a little bit of this cocoa chip. So it's got this like a little bit more absorbent than the other two. And then I amend them with this. This is actually burnt rice hull, perlite, pumice, and a bit of worm casting. So I use a little bit of both. Now with something as epiphytic as this plant, I give them just a chunky medium because I don't think it needs a lot of water. It really would not appreciate being in a very dense potting media. I think I'm all set with this. Welcome to a 3-month update. So at the end of each of these clips that I show you, I'm going to show you a clip of what it looks like 3 months later. I normally show you the whole process and then give you a 3-month later video in a whole like continuous form, but I figured it's much better for me to insert each plant right after their rescue so that you can see the after and before even better. This is a 3-month update of the Anthurium gracile. It's doing really well. I did tuck a lot of the aerial roots into the pot before, so now they're not really overhanging down the pot, but it is non-stop flowering. It's got like 2 flower spikes right now. And these here are the seedlings. They have grown quite big. I have a YouTube shorts that's coming up on how to sow the seeds and grow them into this. All right, let me handle this big bad boy here first. This is an Anthurium pedatoradiatum, and I'm sorry for the state that it's in now. It has the potential to be beautiful. It used to be a lot more beautiful, and it's actually putting out another vine here. This is like a new leaf here, and the leaves are actually really beautiful. They come out with these little flames that expand in size and become this gorgeous leaf. And there are a lot of hybrids from this pedatoradiatum. But this is like, as you can see here, a very overgrown plant. Ideally, what I should do, or any of us should do, is you can wrap this around a bit of moss so that the roots will develop some of those like secondary roots, and then we can cut it off after. But of course, we don't have all the time in the world, so we're just gonna chop it off based on what it is, and we're gonna start over. Now I'm gonna check the top leaves. There's not a lot of leaves on top, but I am going to cut this flower. I'm gonna cut it off because the flower is gonna drain energy from the plant, and we do not want that. So I'm just gonna take a random chunk like this. All right, so this is activated charcoal. I use this for all my sterilization. Feel free to use cinnamon powder or any other means necessary. I'm gonna dip it, make sure that it's like nicely sterilized. And they've got this like they've got this pretty yummy aerial roots here that's going to set them along. So this is actually a pretty easy propagation to make. So we found this pot and it's got these holes on them, which is like really good because I overwater plants, and especially these like fresh cuttings, they're quite sensitive. Yeah, so I bought a lot of these pots specifically because I knew I was going to work with anthuriums soon. I'm going to give it my very chunky chunky potting mix. Again, in my home here, we water our plants every day. We don't have time to check on each one. So if you're that kind of a plant parent, you can opt for a more chunky approach. For me, I can also add a little bit of moss. Actually, anthuriums love it when you have this kind of chunky medium. And then on top, for example, like this here, this other anthuriums, you have a chunky media, and on top here, you top dress it with some sphagnum moss. Because what happens is that when you water mostly the moss, you keep the moist, the moss will basically keep the inside of this pot rather humid, but not sopping wet. So it won't be wet inside, unless you overwater it, of course. But what happens is that these aerial roots here will grow into the moss. so they will develop more roots, and the moss will trap that humidity inside. Where possibly we want to keep it a little bit on the dry side on the inside. So that's how I kind of care for my anthuriums, and I found it to work really well when it did. But now, as you can see, they have all outgrown. It's possible, I should have repotted these like many moons ago. I should have. I can't even take it out, it's super root bound. But we'll work on this a bit later. But this is done. So again, if you live somewhere where you are watering it a lot less, like once a week or once every few days, you can top dress it with sphagnum moss. You can use a pot that doesn't have holes on them so you can keep them moist a little bit longer. I'm gonna add a little bit of this just on top, just to help like keep the absorbency just a little bit more, just to trap that moisture a bit more. And I would also add a bit of slow release fertilizer and a bit of pesticide on this pot right now. So this is done. And now what happens with this here, I'm going to quickly check to see if it's okay. Make sure the roots, yeah, the roots actually look okay. You want to make sure it's not mush or anything because there's no point in keeping the mushy plants. But here's the thing, this is still alive. This can still give you multiple vines from it. Especially a plant this established, this old, it might put out 1 or 2 vines from the node below it. Of course, if I had a lot of time in the world, I could cut this, I could cut, and then propagate just a chunk, and then, you know what, I might do that. I might do that, just to show you it can be done. I'm gonna take a chunk here, now, cut it randomly, but I know that there's at least 2 to 3 growing eye here, there's 2 potentials. All right, this is one growing eye, and then there's another one here. There's probably another one on the other side somewhere. Yeah, over here in the middle. So there's 3 nodes here. So what happens is that with this, you want to keep that in like a, look at this cute little baby root coming up. Love it. Love anthurium roots. I'm going to do one example because actually this is applicable to nearly all the other anthuriums around here. So, I mean, we don't need a ton of pedatoradiatums around the house, because I'm really strapped for space. Really, really strapped for space. Take a bit of moss. And you want the moss, you want the moss to be, let me sterilize the base. I forgot to sterilize the base. You gotta get all sides. And then when you put the moss in, gently, don't tuck it in. The idea is to create an ambient humidity here. You want the roots to be in contact with something, with the moss. And the moss will also disperse some of the humidity around the air, but you do not want to compact it. You don't want a soggy moss situation. And then I water this like lightly every day, just make sure that it's like nice and humid. In fact, I might even keep the middle part here a little bit empty with air, that's fine. In fact, you will see over time that some of these in the middle will push out these crazy like roots because it's like almost 100% humidity inside. They will absolutely love that situation. So this is how you propagate just the chunks. Some people do it in full perlite. Go ahead. With that. Some people like to do full perlite, and you can do that if you want, but I found a lot of success using sphagnum moss. And at this point, you don't need to fertilize it yet. Welcome to a 3 months update. This is the Anthurium pedatoradiatum, and this is the plant where we cut the main chunk. We cut from here, the mother plant, and it's put out 1 vine. Although I'm disappointed it did not put out 2. Sometimes they can put out 2 new vines, but as you can see, it's put out its own set of aerial root here. So this one will do quite well, and the new leaf is just so healthy. It's so nice to see them coming back to life. And this one here, this is the one that we propagated from the middle chunk. You can see here that this is the middle section, and it's put out 1 gorgeous leaf. But at the same time, look at that, it's trying to put out another vine here. So sometimes the midsection chunks can really do well as well for anthuriums. So they really are a plant that you have to propagate often, because if you just kept it as 1 plant that's just overgrown, it's gonna look really, really gnarly. And here I want to show you also the roots. They're doing incredibly well. So this kind of chunky potting media and the moss really does well for me, for the anthuriums. And last but not least, this here is the top cutting of the plant. Look at all these roots. This is my finger for comparison. They're so thick and beautiful. And this is also doing well. It's putting out leaf after leaf, and it's gonna give me another leaf pretty soon. And usually the top cutting is one that is supposed to grow pretty fast, but this one unfortunately isn't growing as fast as I would like. But yeah, they are all thriving really well. Next, I guess we can work on this one here. I don't remember what this anthurium is, but honestly, it's seen better days. Come out like really weird shaped leaves. Honestly, I think it's because it really is like super root bound. It really needed to be repotted a long time ago. And with anthuriums, they're very root heavy. They require a lot of root space. This one says the ace of spades. Could be it, but sometimes we misplace the labels. Give it a good massage before we take it out. $10 massage. $10 massage. Who wants massage? This is how heavy it's like super root bound. My gosh, it's not even letting go. It's not want to let go. Whoa. Whoa. Look at that. Oh my gosh, this is actually satisfying to watch. So again, this is another pot that I got. Again, I'm not sponsored or anything. I don't really want to tell you the brand names. Find it in your local marketplace. You will find these pots with holes in them. And what I want to do here is I want to put a little bit of media in the bottom. And I love these clear pots. They're going to save a lot of my anthuriums' lives because, oh my God, it's actually very tight. I'm going to go one size bigger because that was a bit small. This one doesn't have holes on them, but it's got a lot of holes in the bottom. I put some in the bottom, pushing it. I love staring at these roots, so these pots are really amazing for me. And also with anthuriums, these tall pots really work well because as you can see, if we cover all that middle section up with a bit of media, they will grow into roots, healthy roots. So once we repot this should take off in a few months' time. All right, so I've got more cocoa chips and more of this media. I'm gonna mix it together. A lot of you guys ask me for recipes, for formulas. I don't have one. I mix it. It's different each time. I use my feelings. So that's just the kind of person I am. In nature, there's no formula for the kind of growing media that they are in. Yeah, I really must admit that I haven't had my anthurium game on. I haven't collected some of the rarer ones these days. I'm struggling with caring for. This is why I really am hesitant when people want to give me anthuriums or when I see ones that I want to buy. I'm very hesitant to adopt them because I'm not doing well with my own collection. They grow really fast here. For me, like I think a pot like this, because we just repotted it, it's gonna need repotting again in like 6 to 9 months. And of course, one of the other way that you could do it is you could just cut it and then propagate from it. I might do that after this has grown a bit more healthy because this is not healthy right now. Once it's become more healthy, I will probably do cuttings. So I'll have some ace of spades lying around my space. Here's the update of the ace of spades after 3 months' time. It is doing just okay. As you can see, the roots are still quite beautiful and I love watching them in this clear pot. And then I would actually put a few moss around it so that these aerial roots can root into the moss. All these sticks here, these are all previous flower spikes. I'm not sure where they bloom, but we do cut them off. By the way, that's one more tip about anthurium. When they do flower and you don't want to pollinate them, please cut the flowers off. They really drain energy from the plant and it really prevents them from putting out big and spectacular leaves. All right, this one does not have an ID. It's probably like a hybrid of some sort. All right, with this one here, this is actually quite healthy. So let's try to promote more roots where possible. I'm going to give this another clear pot because again, with anthuriums, we want to keep an eye out for their watering. 3 months later, this is that plant, and I have a feeling this might have crystallinum blood in it because I don't know if you can see from here, there's a new vine that appeared, 2 new vines. Where's the second one? Hang on, over here. I don't know if the camera's gonna focus. 2, the second vine is right here, And then there's a third baby vine that's come up on this side. So now this has given me 4 plants. Now, it is actually wise to separate them once they're ready, because if you keep them together, they will fight for resources and they may not size up as well. So yeah, it's doing quite okay in here. In just 3 months' time, it's given me 4 vines. And the main plant, this is their newest leaf, is going to expand in size over time. And if you're familiar with Crystallinum, they tend to do that. They have a habit of clumping. All right, so I basically recorded without my microphone on, so I'm gonna have to start over. I unpotted this plant here, and then from there I found a little pup with a little bit of aerial roots, so I plucked it off and I'm gonna water propagate the little pup. And then this one here, this is actually incredibly sick with disease, so we spread it down, and then now when we unpotted this, we realized the media is like super soggy. There's a lot of moss in here, and it's like retaining a lot of moisture, but I don't see a lot of dead roots. But most of the media looks like this. So we want to change it to something chunkier, when it's happier, but that is not actually the cause of this disease. Let me show you why this plant looks so sad. This plant looks sad because this is the original plant. And then somehow I think it died off because we did a few bouts of Anthurium rescue. This is another vine that's come out from it. And this vine has even branched out into 2 vines here. So something is wrong with this, but we're gonna fix it, hopefully. I don't think this one here, I think one of the ideas to cut this off and propagate it, but this one I think is such an old chunk that I don't think it's gonna produce any more leaf out of it. So we're gonna try to save this whole thing. I might actually even take off like this one leaf here. This is like not really helping the plant along. Got a new pot here where we can monitor the moisture better. All right, good luck. This is a 3 months update of the Anthurium, I believe bessae, I don't know how to pronounce it, AFF. Let me know if this is the right species for this plant. I might have gotten it wrong, but they are doing really well. So this is the original plant, and it's put out a secondary vine. Let me find it. This leaf here, this is sprout from another part of the stem. So it's going to give me 2 plants out of this, and it's gonna take time. We lost the original leaves because they were actually this one is actually quite diseased as well. So we lost the original leaf, but the new leaves actually look quite okay. So with anthuriums, especially some of these species, they're more prone than others for fungal and bacterial infection. And if you're wondering about that little baby that we water propagated, I forgot that we were filming, so I actually waited for it to root, and then I potted this into a pot, I think about a month ago. So they did root quite well, and now this is what it looks like. So now I have like 3 anthuriums out of the 1. Forgetii. This is also not looking so good. Let me see what's wrong with it. Oh, if you look at the roots in the base, it's dried off. This is like dried roots. So it's gone through a series of underwatering, and it did not like it. So we're gonna have to try to fix that. Now, if you have all the time in the world, you can slowly cut off the dried roots. But for me, I'm just going to prune it very, very hastily. Cut it off. I'm not super gentle with my plants, by the way. I should be, but I don't have the time. I'm always rushing off somewhere. I've got a video to edit for you guys tonight. And honestly though, in nature is hard on them. These guys survived millions of years of abuse. So I don't think it will mind that I'm a little bit rushed. So if you look at this, maybe do better than me. This is also a little bit diseased, so we will spray this off. But hang on 1 second. I feel like a second plant. Yeah, you can separate this into 2. I've got 2 forgetii now. Yeah, I got 2 plants. Look at that. This is one. It's got a pretty good root system too. And the newest leaf is actually very healthy. And I've got this one. So I've got two forgetii. This is the 3-month update on the Anthurium forgetii. It's got beautiful roots. And this leaf is just hanging on to its dear life, but it is putting out a new vine. At this point, this plant does not need a lot of water because it doesn't have a ton of leaves, but it is doing quite okay. I'm watching out for the roots, and this is a fresh new root here. So this is gonna pull through. And its sibling is doing really well. So this is the one that we separated, and look at that new leaf. This is why I love anthuriums. Their new leaves are so dramatic. This is doing really well. I actually should top dress this with a bit of moss around here to keep it, to make sure that these roots can turn into healthy soil roots. Now for the rest of them, I don't think we have all day long because we've got a lot more anthuriums. I'm just going to quickly show you and troubleshoot you. I'm not going to show you the actual doing of it. This one here, the Pterodactyl, I did see a baby. I can see here, there's a little baby. So what I'm going to do is I probably will cut this. This was grown from a seed. It was gifted by Pottery Plants. Thank you so much, Mr. Sapto, for giving this to me. So I can just cut it. As you can see, there's like some aerial roots here already. Cut it off on top, some baby might shoot, and then I'm gonna separate this baby pup here. But I'm gonna also show you the roots real quick. So we all love watching like these unpotting. Wow, nice. Very nice. And this was actually a little bit underwatered. Let me show you this. Yeah, if you see here, the roots are a little bit wrinkled. They're actually a little bit dehydrated. If I keep this like this for a little bit longer, they might dry off. So we gotta be mindful for the watering of this one. But I'm not gonna increase the pot size for this because I am gonna chop the plant off. So I don't need to have a big pot for now. Now these are the Anthurium pterodactyls. I don't know if these are the pure species or maybe they are hybrids because I got them from a seedling. And I made a cut. I didn't show you how I did it, but I made a cut right here. And it's put out a new vine here. And the new vine has given me some really nice leaves. And it's also flowering here. How cute is that? And then there's another vine that appeared from down below. So we've got 2 new vines now. On this mother, oh, 3, my gosh, 3 new vines. This is another one that came out. This is the newest leaf. And this is the base of that stem. So 1, 2, and 3. So go ahead and give your anthuriums a chop, you guys, especially if it's like overgrown. And then I believe we mentioned it before, but there was like a little pup down below that I did not actually remove. But this is probably, let me unpot this. This is probably, oh, very, very root bound. It's probably due for a potting up. And I keep saying this in this episode, but for anthuriums, they require large pots. And because they have such a prolific root system, which also may suggest that they're fast-growing plants, because usually fast-growing plants also have like sophisticated and very robust roots. And this is a top cutting that I took from the plant. I believe the original leaves weren't doing so well. We did spray some fungicide, and then look at the new leaves. They're doing so much better. So that's this new leaf is doing okay. So when you have like fungal infection on anthurium, just give them a spray. They won't, I mean, you won't reverse it. You can't recover from it, but it will prevent the new leaves from getting sick. And look at all these roots. How beautiful is this? Yeah. And this is trying to escape. These roots are trying to escape the pots. And if you ask me, just within 3 months' time, this might also be due for repotting soon. Look at how thick this one is compared to my pinky here. Very, very beautiful roots. And this one here, this is gonna be so satisfying to show you. This is the Anthurium Crystallinum, the very common one here. Look at all these roots in there. I'm just gonna show you the inside. You know, every time I do this, I'm always surprised by how dense Anthurium roots can be. This has taken over the entire pot. And look at all these growth points above. Actually, this can be separated into several plants when you see a plant like this. This is the Anthurium villanarum. Actually, really, really love this one. Actually, this is still fine. I think I don't need to repot this yet. This is okay, and if you look at the roots, it's still quite healthy. I might repot it in a few months' time. I might, but yeah, it's not on my top priority right now. But the leaves are coming in a little bit weird, so there might be some watering issues. And by the way, when you massage it like this is really good. It aerates the potting media quite a bit. And one thing about this plant is that whenever we water it, it's so hard to get to the soil because of the way that the leaves look. So sometimes this is not just not getting enough water. This was my struggle plant for a while. Yeah, probably, yeah. It needs a bigger pot. How crazy. Now for a plant like this, we tried to look for a pot, but we couldn't find a pot that fits it. What I would do is I would just maybe ideally put it in a slightly bigger pot, repot it, and then wrap moss around this to make this like center area root, and then chop it into 2 or 3 plants because it is so beautiful that it deserves to have a clone on its own. There are many king of spades in the market. They all have different shapes, different forms, but I particularly love this one. But again, this is just a bit too over root bound, so it's not in the best shape right now. So do repot your anthuriums often if you can learn anything from this video. This is that Anthurium king of spades, and look at this beautiful new leaf that is put out. And I want to tell you something. Over the course of 3 months, I actually forgot to repot it. I know that we said in the episode that we would repot it, so this needed repotting badly 3 months ago. And this Anthurium king of spades, the leaves can get large and magnificent, and of course to achieve that you really need to give it a much bigger pot than this. But maybe this is a reminder for you guys to always repot your anthuriums. But this is truly a beauty and a joy to have in the garden. It is so beautiful. And I promise I will repot it today right after filming this. So we've got this like cobra variegated, and it is just a little bit sick on the leaves, but it is still putting out fantastic new leaves. This one is still unfurling. I don't see much variegation on this. I might have to increase light on this because I remember that this is growing under a few plants. When you have a variegated anthurium, they need a lot of light and they need a lot of top light. This is a bird nest type anthurium. Mine is living on a shelf, but you shouldn't. You should give this like a nice open air, even top light. This is what they like. So I need to adjust the care for this one. And then this here, I think this is just basically 2 chunks of like anthurium hybrid. And this is a little bit too dry because terracotta pot dries a lot faster than yeah, I see some dried roots here. So I might actually transfer this to like a, you know what I'm gonna do? Actually, this can be divided into 2. So you can see there are 2 plants living here. Divide. Yeah. Now we've got 2. So sometimes anthuriums can be clumping. I think I bought this as a dorayaki, if I'm not wrong. But that this situation is a little bit too dry. This was also living indoors. So I'm going to do one last one. I'm going to let you go because this video is becoming ridiculously long. This is an anthurium that kind of leans over the leaves. They just kind of flop down, and like, it used to be so pretty. I remember this was like on the soil level, but now it's grown quite a lot in the last few months. So, and I give it a hanger too, because again, this is an anthurium that seemed to want to hang. This is too dry. This is too dry. Yeah, the roots like felt very slim, and I feel, yeah, you can definitely tell, anyone can tell that they're actually a little bit too dry. So I can upsize the pot a little bit so that this will get a little bit, it'll retain a bit more moisture. All right. Last but not least, this is the beautiful anthurium that droops down. This is like so stunning. I really like this anthurium because it does really want to hang down from the pot, as you can see here. And it is like putting out leaf after leaf. This one has a bit of physical damage. I don't know what happened to it, but it is looking quite healthy. And it's even put out like a ridiculous flower or inflorescence, if you want to be correct. And these roots are doing well. Look at all that humidity that's in there. This is what the root actually likes. They don't like to be soggy. They like to just have that bit of, I don't know, condensation in there, just a humid air in there. And you can see there are some new roots here that has emerged. They look usually a bit fuzzy, those new roots. Like this here, I don't know if it's gonna focus, but this is looking a bit fuzzy. I love looking at roots as they expand in size and take over. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the very end, and you know the drill. Please do comment down below and give this video a like and stay subscribed. It would really help the channel out. It'll help push my videos to other plant lovers like yourself, and I hope that you've learned a thing or two about this wonderful genus of the Anthurium. They truly are a joy to grow around the garden despite it having a specific care requirement. And I want to thank my Patreon members and YouTube members for their continued support. For a small fee a month, you guys are enabling me to do what I love and really throwing me me a lifeline. So I thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna bid you farewell now and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.